There has been so much talk this offseason about the upgrade of Paul George, the addition of players like Caleb Martin, re signing Kelly Oubre, Joel Embiid playing in the Olympics for Team USA. But we should not forget about our homegrown superstar who continues to flourish right in front of our very eyes, that being Tyrese Maxey. Now, Maxey was rewarded this offseason with that full scale max contract that he has earned every penny of, and should be noted that he did wait out his time, not accepting the contract offer last offseason to even make it possible for Paul George to come to Philadelphia. But in this video, I want to break down why I think he's still only scratching the surface of who he is as a player, as well as what was revealed in this awesome just experience and museum that was built for Tyrese Maxey to honor him ahead of signing that contract. Now, to pull up the first little clip here, you can see Tyrese Maxey holding up that black jersey, the AI themed jersey, which you all remember and have fond memories of. And it does seem like the Sixers did reveal something in that video, and confirmed by Sixers Adam of Philly Voice here, who writes, can confirm, as first reported by CBS, the Sixers are in the process of planning to bring back the black throwback jersey seen in last night's Tyrese Maxey tribute video, but they will not be in the mix for the 24-25 season. So unfortunate that it won't be this year coming in, but it is still good to see the ball working there. This has been something that Sixers fans have hoped for years. We all have those fond memories of Allen Iverson in them. Now, I hate to be this guy here to give the hot take. I do think the jerseys are a little bit overrated. I would even go as far as to say from the Allen Iverson era that this blue jersey right here is my personal favorite. And my take on the black jersey as a whole is I think Allen Iverson can make absolutely anything look cool. And we remember it fondly because of that, not specifically because of the jerseys or that slick design. But the thing that I will say here is I like leaning into a little bit of a rebrand, with the vibes really being at the highest point that they have been in this era of Sixers basketball, with true hope on the table here. It would be cool to have a little something different to roll out and embrace that in a way. And Tyrese Maxey is the absolute poster boy who you would want to represent that he is the closest thing to Allen Iverson that we have seen since that man has stepped on the floor. And that is really one of the points that I did want to hammer home today, that I know there's been a lot said about the addition of Paul George, and we know what he brings to the table. 22.6 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 41.3% three-point shooter there, 45.7% from the corner. We also know what Joel Embiid brings to the table, the guy who has won MVP, who is representing the Philadelphia 76ers and Team USA on the Olympic level for how impressive he is and the elite talent that he is. But I don't want to get it twisted that this is Paul George overstepping Tyrese Maxey. This is still Maxey and Embiid with Paul George as the third star, and I do want that to be clear. And to talk about kind of the growth of Tyrese Maxey here, I just wanted to put this on the full scale, looking at his stats and the year-by-year growth that he has shown. He was sixth in the league in most improved, going from his first season to his second season. Obviously, just 15.3 minutes per game as a rookie. Doc Rivers having him in the handcuffs as far as opportunities go. He stepped up with the Ben Simmons holdout situation, forced into the starting lineup and produced 17.5 points per game, 4.3 assists, 3.2 rebounds. And look at that three-point percentage, going from 30.1% as a rookie to 42.7% in his second year, which ranked top 5 in the NBA. And just take a second to think about how ridiculous that is, that the criticism of Tyrese Maxey coming out of college is that he wasn't a good enough shooter. Well, it took him less than 2 years into his NBA career to become a top 5 three-point shooter in the NBA. And by the way, he only improved on this number further the following year, upgrading that to 43.4%. Now, he did slip a little bit in that category this year, shooting 37.3% on 8.1 attempts per game. That's still above average, and the slippage, I will acknowledge, I think directly has to do with Joel Embiid missing the extent of time that he had. That level of gravity and shot creation that Embiid possesses is pretty key for opening things up for Tyrese Maxey, and I think that's only going to be further expanded with Paul George on the floor this year. But look at those stats as a whole: 25.9 points per game there, 6.2 assists, taking that massive leap in the assist, the playmaking there. He also has recorded 1 steal a game, which is a career high for him. I think his defensive growth is definitely worth noting, and that's an area that really stood out to me through the process of last year. That there were moments, there was one game specifically against the Boston Celtics, I remember, where he was taking Jaylen Brown's lunch money and going at him one-on-one in a way that was really impressive to me and proved something with Tyrese Maxey, and I think that's super intriguing for the future. And Maxey is well aware of the piece of the puzzle that he plays. I had a chance to sit down and interview with him over Zoom to talk a little bit through a partnership he did with Turo, and he gave me a little bit of the rundown of a lot that was going on. And I asked him about delaying the contract, because as much as he obviously still got paid and this worked out fine, that is a situation where simply put, not every NBA player would buy into that to delay it a full offseason and put that at risk. And obviously, We know how things went down, that things played out as clearly and as best as possible. Tyrese Maxey was recognized with his first All-Star appearance, did take those next steps into evolving into his game and improving as a basketball player. But what if it didn't? What if he had suffered an injury this year or did not play up to the level? All of a sudden, those conversations become a little bit more difficult. Now, Tyrese Maxey is exactly who we thought he was, so this ultimately did not prove out to be the case. But I did ask him his thoughts on delaying the contract and loved his response here. Maxey just said, quote, "The biggest thing for me was I understood it. I understood what the long term was. We're trying to go win a championship." And that really was a theme that he hit home. I also asked him if there was anything in particular that he was working on specifically for this offseason, that I know his 1% get 1% better every day type mindset. And he just hit me with, "I would love to tell you my secret, Sean, but I can't be putting that fully out there, but you will see." So a lot to be excited about there. But I also wanted to bring up this concept of the trio of stars. When you think about this era of the NBA, that it's become such a copycat league for what the blueprint is to win, that we did know there was this super team era where every team wanted to lean in, having the most all-stars and the top-end talent and forgetting about depth pieces. Then there's been kind of a swing back on that pendulum with teams like the Denver Nuggets having their two superstars in Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic and finding guys to optimize their skill set. And ultimately, I think there's pros and cons to both, and you can do either successfully and you can also fail either way. But we understand that Daryl Morey is wired for this superstar mindset, and there is some honest credence in his opinion there. So I want to pull up this article from Jake Fisher that I know I've referenced on here before, but to just give some stats on what the difference is when there is three stars is pretty impressive here. So Fisher writes, "That is the same path the Philadelphia 76ers plan to pursue this summer, according to league sources. There has been a strategy of lead executive Daryl Morey dating back to his days piloting the Houston Rockets, and it was the same guiding principle Sam Hinkie, at first Morey's lieutenant with the Rockets, utilized when spearheading the Sixers process that produced Joel Embiid. Decades of data, so the thinking goes, is unequivocal. The history of NBA champions is littered with teams that rostered at least 3 all-star caliber players. The odds of winning a championship are not typically swung by role players or veteran minimum signings, but the game's greatest. Since 2012 and 2013, the chance a team reaches the conference finals nearly doubles, goes from 18.5% to 30.8%, when a roster boasts 3 top players compared to the 2 top players, according to team building reviewed by Yahoo Sports. This defines top players as being those who made an All-Star or All-NBA team within 2 years of the current season and played 29-plus minutes per game. The championship odds for teams with 2 top players stand at just 0.9%, compared to 14% with teams featuring 3. Every title winner since 2013 has rostered at least a trio of alphas aside from 2 teams, the Denver Nuggets, which I mentioned, and then the 2020 Lakers, which of course was that bubble run with only LeBron James and Anthony Davis reaching that criteria there. Now with this Sixers team, to add on to that, when you think about designing a basketball team or what a big 3 could possibly look like, this is the exact ideal way you want it. That you do truly have a dominating interior presence in Joel Embiid, who's still elite at the mid-range and a guy who can score in a variety of ways. He's not just a put him on the post center, and we've seen that on full display. You have a true all-star guard in Tyrese Maxey, who only is getting better and is only going to continue improving from here. He's going to be entering next season at just 24 years old. There still hasn't even hit his professional prime. And then you have a true two-way wing in Paul George. And I also think for all the criticisms of Paul George, him not being a number 1 option or him being inconsistent, this all helps out by him having a more minimized role here in Philadelphia. It's one thing when you're shooting inconsistently with that Clippers team when you're looked at as the true number 2. When you got Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey playing next to you, there's a little more leniency. And once again, I love to circle it back to this point of conversation here. If you want to compare Paul George to Tobias Harris, I cannot explain the miles in gap of a basketball player that those two are. We're talking about a guy who is a likely Hall of Famer, 9-time All-Star, former All-NBA, and All-NBA caliber defender, compared to Tobias Harris, who essentially ended up being just a guy. And while that's unfortunate for what this has meant for the direction of the Sixers, the truth is they have fixed it. They have realigned things, and they do have this core that they believe is championship quality. Now, we still have plenty to see on the floor, but I don't want it to get misconstrued that this is still Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey's team, and Paul George could be that missing piece to get them over that hump. So still a lot to break down as the season is approaching. Still plenty of moves to round out the bottom of this roster. While I know it was mentioned in this that the veteran minimums and the role players don't typically swing a playoff series, I think that's a little bit strong in that take there, as there's certainly guys that will make an impact. And a player on the Sixers that I wanted to bring up that I think will absolutely make his presence felt is Caleb Martin. And when you think about what he can bring to this team from a toughness standpoint, the mentality, the winning habits that he does have, and the playoff experience as a riser, those are all great traits to add to the Sixers team. So I'm very excited about what this could possibly be. So to Tyrese Maxey, keep exactly on the path that you were on. He's become everything this franchise could possibly hope for and more, and is being rewarded as such. And also in the long run, I don't want to look past the season, but there will be an era in which this is Tyrese Maxey's team, and that's not going to be a bad one to live through right there. So we'll see what happens from here, but very excited about the direction of the Sixers team, and shout out to Daryl Morey for trusting his own process and making this possible. Also, shout out to you guys for tuning into this video here. Appreciate all the support as always. Make sure you are dropping a like on this video if you have not already. Drop any comments that you have for me below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't just yet. Got plenty more content coming out here on Sixers Digest on the daily, so make sure to keep it locked to it, and talk with you next time. Peace.